Welcome back to Arsenal News TV, and today we're going to look at how Arsenal could line up versus Manchester City. And let's get right into the formation. And Mikel Arteta knows he has a tough task against Manchester City at the Etihad. We've got reminders of 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. God knows how many goals we have conceded at the Etihad in the last 5, 6, 7 seasons. And that is probably our worst game out of all the games in the Premier League. And Mikel Arteta has a strong decision to make. Will he refer to a 3-4-3 formation, something that even Pep Guardiola did during the latter stages of last season when it was against tougher opponents? Or would he refer back to the same formation, that 4-2-3-1 formation? So Mikel Arteta does have a big option on his hands, but I think he will remain with a 4-2-3-1 formation as he has done against the big teams such as Chelsea, who still played with a 4-2-3-1 formation. But there were always times where Granit Xhaka dropped into that back three to give more defensive solidity for the goalkeeper and for the defence as well to prevent conceding. And against a very good team such as Manchester City, I think a back three could be a good shout for Mikel Arteta, given the fact that Tottenham used the back three versus Manchester City and they won the game. Teams that use a back three against Manchester City do win the game. When we beat Manchester City in the FA Cup, we used a back three. So a back three could be a good shout, but I still think Mikel Arteta would use a back four formation. So in terms of the goalkeeper, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? Is it Bernd Leno or is it Aaron Ramsdale? And Aaron Ramsdale had a very good game versus West Brom. I think there were moments which I think is much better when compared to Bernd Leno. His build-up play is really good, that when he gets the ball, he knows how to make the first pass, whereas Bernd Leno takes 6-7 minutes just to make a pass, in my opinion. He's very slow on the ball, he's very sluggish in possession, and that's something that has cost us in games. And if Mikel Arteta wants to play out from the back, if he wants also to be a possession-based team where we are very good at holding the ball, I think we definitely need Aaron Ramsdale in that goalkeeper position. But Bernd Leno has the experience of losing continuous games with Mikel Arteta and also versus Manchester City, and his experience is something that Mikel Arteta would admire over Aaron Ramsdale in my opinion, and I think he will go with Bernd Leno in goal in versus Manchester City. And in terms of my lineup, I will do it after how I think Mikel Arteta will line up also versus Man City, and then I will give my predicted lineup and how I think Mikel Arteta should line up also to make sure we get a solid enough result versus Manchester City. It will be a very difficult match. I think Manchester City are rubbing their hands versus also they are very excited to annihilate us, and it could be another annihilation just like Chelsea did in the previous game. And I am really nervous about this game more than the game versus Chelsea in my opinion. So moving into that right back position, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? He mentioned about his right backs when questioned if he was going to buy a new right back in the summer transfer window, with Hector Bellerin looking likely to leave and players such as Cedric Soares not being preferred by Mikel Arteta, really being average, and players such as Callum Chambers, who is not a right back but trained, and his versatility is something that still makes him into the squad because he's a very good squad player. But in terms of the right back, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? He could bring in an inside shout by bringing in Ainsley Maitland-Niles in that right back position. We all know what he did in the game versus Manchester City when he played left wing back, and that was a decision Mikel Arteta made, and it was a very smart decision made to make Arsenal win that semi-final and then progress on to the final and win the final as well. So could he refer and bring back Maitland-Niles to really have that left-hand side covered, because it will definitely be run down by Jack Grealish, and Jack Grealish is a really good player, and we were unlucky not to even sign him because we were in the talks of trying to bring him to the Gunners, but we weren't able to have the facilities, weren't able to have the lure, and we weren't able to have the Champions League football that to offer for a player like Jack Grealish. But in that right back position, who will Mikel Arteta going to go with? Is it Cedric Soares, Callum Chambers, Ainsley Maitland-Niles or Hector Bellerin? But I think he will go with Cedric Soares because I think he did have an average game versus Chelsea, but most of the attack came down that left-hand side in terms of my opinion, given the fact that it was open that side due to Kevin Tierney being very high up the pitch, really being an impact in terms of trying to score a goal for the Gunners and really making crosses into the box. But down that right flank, there was a lot more defensive ability. It was more or less Cedric Soares holding the play, giving the ball to Nicola Pepe to really do the business off the pitch. On the pitch. But when it comes to Cedric Soares, I think he's seen as the preferred option against the bigger clubs, but I will give my predicted lineup later on as well. So moving into that right centre-back position, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? We have players such as Ben White. Unfortunately, his chance of recovering from COVID-19 in time to feature for the game versus Manchester City is very unlikely, even though if he tests negative, would he be in form? We don't know. We got players such as Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, who can all play in that right centre-back position. But I think Mikel Arteta will go with Rob Holding, given the fact that he's much more senior when compared to the other centre-backs. He has a lot more experience, and he brings that physicality that he can thrive on. But in a game versus Manchester City, do you need physicality? That's another question, and that is why I will give my predicted lineup after Mikel Arteta. And I think Mikel Arteta would definitely go with Rob Holding, even though he is a very average centre-back in my opinion. I think he is really average, and I think when it comes to Rob Holding, he's a player that many people have different thoughts on. Some people do like him, some people don't like him. But when it comes to Holding, he does have his badge on his chest. He does play for this football club. He does try to deliver everything he can for this football club. And that's something that I do prefer, his commitment to this football club. So moving on to the partner, someone that is going to be that partner to Rob Holding. And when it comes to Mikel Arteta, this guy has this one source of importance where you should have a right-footed centre-back on the right centre-back position and a left-footed centre-back on the left centre-back position, and that is why many people were confused. How is Mikel Arteta going to line up versus West Brom? Was it Tavares at right back? Was it Callum Chambers in the middle in the centre-back position? What was Mikel Arteta doing? Was it a back three? And there was a lot of questions asked about it, but we can clearly see he wants a left-footed centre-back in the left centre-back position and a right-footed centre-back in the right centre-back position. And with the three left centre-backs we currently have in the form of Pablo Mari, who is seen as the more experienced centre-back, someone that really works well alongside a physical centre-back, and Gabriel Magalhaes, who continues to work his back from a knee injury, and he's been back in full contention, he's been in full training. And then we got Sead Kolasinac, and it's really frustrating to hear his name again as an Arsenal fan. Many people said that was his farewell appearance versus West Brom. Hopefully it is, because I think he's an average centre-back. I think he's not going to be the player if we want to get back Arsenal where they should be. And we definitely need recruitment. But in the centre-back position, I am happy with Pablo Mari and Gabriel Magalhaes in that left centre-back position. But even though Pablo Mari has been in some bad form, I'd rather go with the right footed centre-back such as a Callum Chambers. Or this is the reason why I'm going to give my predicted lineup versus Manchester City. And I think that's the way we will win the game, or even have a draw if we're lucky. But when it comes to Mikel Arteta, I think he's definitely going to go with Pablo Mari, given the fact that he's our only left-footed centre-back that is available to play currently alongside Kolasinac. And when you compare Kolasinac and Pablo Mari, Mari is better than Kolasinac, let's be real with it. Now moving into that left-back position, who are we going to go with? We have two options. We have Kieran Tierney, or we have Nuno Tavares. And Nuno Tavares had a decent game versus West Brom, but there were some moments where he had some heavy touches. But his commitment for this team, his enthusiasm for this football club is very, very well and very, very good. And it's something that we will be able to utilise when he gets older. He's only 21 years old. When he gets older, he will gain more experience and really become a top level left back if Manchester City come calling for Kieran Tierney. And Kieran Tierney is a player that's definitely going to start versus Manchester City. He is Mikel Arteta is one of the first players that will be on the team sheet, and his commitment for this football club, his way he plays for this team, he is going to be a future captain of this club, hopefully. But is he going to do it under Mikel Arteta's reign? We don't know. But Kieran Tierney will definitely start in that left back position. But I'm happy to have Nuno Tavares as that left back cover as well. So now moving into the midfield, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? I think we have four options in the midfield. We have Granit Xhaka, Sambi Lokonga, Thomas Partey, who is not expected to return from his ankle problem before the international break, and Mohamed El Neni. He was featured in the game versus West Brom, and he did make that one assist for Nicola Pepe where he hit the post, and then Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang had the return and he scored the goal. But they're all, for me, average centre mids, apart from Lokonga, where I've seen some form of class. And I think in that right centre mid position, I would love to see a Lokonga play, and I think he can offer something different. When it comes to midfield, I'm really still not happy with Granit Xhaka extending his contract. Yes, he's a good player, but he's not good enough for Arsenal. He's not going to take Arsenal back to where they should be, in my opinion. And I would love to see a new midfielder brought in. We had been linked to the likes of Jose Mawa, but I would love to see Yves Bissouma in this club. And many people question why Yves Bissouma. Yves Bissouma is the similar player to Thomas Partey, similar player to Albert Sambi Lokonga. But Yves Bissouma is a three-way battle currently with Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United. And he is a player that I think is going under the limelight because he is a player that could really transform this football club. He loves Arsenal Football Club, and he even mentioned himself that he would choose Arsenal over any other Premier League club, and I think he will be a great addition for Mikel Arteta. But when it comes to Yves Bissouma, why do I have Yves Bissouma? Because he can give away the time needed for Lokonga. Lokonga is still a young player, he's only 21 years old. And if you have that Thomas Partey, Yves Bissouma partnership and have Granit Xhaka and Lokonga as their replacements, as their understudies, then I think it will be a great midfield. But we are not the owners, we are not the manager, and we won't have a say in who Mikel Arteta picks. And I think he'll go with Sambi Lokonga in that right centre midfield position, and in the left centre mid position, we'll go with Granit Xhaka. And when it comes to Mikel Arteta, just like we talked about the centre backs, he will do the same with the midfielders. He likes to have one left-footed centre mid and another right-footed centre mid. Maybe in addition to why Martin Odegaard's wearing that number 8 shirt, and I would love to see Martin Odegaard partner Lokonga in the midfield. But when it comes to Mikel Arteta, when I think the way Martin Odegaard plays, I think it suits him more, the number 10 role. I think he impressed heavily. I think that free role for him gives us an opportunity to roam around the pitch and really make an impact. And I think Martin Odegaard in that number 10 role is something that is much more preferred. But when it comes to Martin Odegaard, he can always learn how to turn into a number 8. He's played it at Real Sociedad at certain moments. He has to play that when he was at Real Madrid for this time period, because they're going to definitely play with two midfielders, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. And in that midfield, I think Granit Xhaka and Lokonga will be our best two midfielders. But I think we desperately need a new midfielder. And I hope they make a move in the transfer window, because there are 3 positions I think we still need improving. The right back, the midfield, and the least priority for me currently is the striker role, because the Aubameyang, if he hits back full, we definitely don't need a new striker. But when it comes to Lacazette and Aubameyang being linked to moves to Juventus, I think we definitely might need a new midfield striker as well. But in the midfield, we definitely need a new midfielder and especially a new right back as well. That's 2 priorities I want to see completed in this summer transfer window. But we have a few days remaining, and I don't know what Mikel Arteta is going to do. He said that there's going to still be business in the latter stages. Fabrizio Romano says there's going to be business in the latter stages. But our midfield is so much weaker when compared to Manchester City's. And in that number 10 role, we have 2 positions. We have 2 players who can play in that position, Martin Odegaard and Emil Smith Rowe. And I think that Martin Odegaard suits much better in that number 10 role, because Emil Smith Rowe is more of a direct sort of player. He likes to get the ball. He's very graceful with his ability, and I think he suits in another role. But when it comes to that number 10 role, I think Martin Odegaard just fits very well in that number 10 role, given the fact that he's got the freedom to move around. He's got the freedom to get the ball, give a knock, and then keep moving forward. And I think he links the play very well. Mikel Arteta said it very well. He makes the players around him look very good as well. And I think Martin Odegaard is a great addition, and I think he'll be a great success at the football club. Even if it's with Arteta, or even if it's another manager, I think he'll be a solid addition. So moving into that right winger role, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? I think we have 2 right wingers who can play in that position. We got Bukayo Saka and Nicolas Pepe. We have other players such as Reece Nelson, other players such as Willian, who looks likely to leave. Reece Nelson for me should be leaving out on a loan move, but Wayne don't make the decisions. The player wants to stay and play for the football club. We have other players such as the likes of Gabriel Martinelli, who can play on either wing. We have a lot of options at the winger sort of role, but I'll rather see Bukayo Saka. And I think Mikel Arteta will go with Bukayo Saka, even though I have a different sort of system in my mindset, in terms of how I would line up Arsenal. But in terms of Mikel Arteta, I think he will choose Bukayo Saka over Nicolas Pepe, and I think that will be a problem, given that we spent that £72 million on a player called Nicolas Pepe, play, and if you don't give him minutes, then where is he going to gain that confidence? Where is he going to show his ability on the ball? And where is he going to gain a run of games where he can show his ability and starts to score a lot more goals and starts to be much more preferred and see his name rise higher and higher? And that's going to be a problem, but I'm going to give my predicted lineup, and I don't know if Mikel Arteta will go with this, but this is how I think Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal. So in that left winger role, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? And we just mentioned before that in that number 10 role, we have two players, Martin Odegaard and Emil Smith-Rowe. I think Odegaard suits more to that number 10 role, whereas Emil Smith-Rowe is suited to another role, and that another role is the left winger role. And this is because Smith-Rowe has the capability to get the ball, drift inside, score a goal, drift outside, make an assist, and I think that suits him very well because I think he really likes to move to the wider roles. He saw sort of moments where he played as a left winger for the under 18s, under 21s, under 23s. So Smith-Rowe in that left winger role is something that I think Mikel Arteta will go with. Up front, we have two players we can talk about. We've got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexandre Lacazette, both who have been linked with Juventus. But with Aubameyang's goal-scoring record versus West Brom and a hat-trick, he's in good form, he's in good confidence, he is likely to start. But there are players that are such as Martinelli, Fuller and Balogun who could be given an opportunity. But in the game versus Manchester City, you need the best players at the best moments. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is in a good moment and in a good place to score some goals versus Manchester City, even though it is very, very unlikely. So this is how I think Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal versus Manchester City, and I think you guys should leave it in the comments. Do you agree with how Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal in the game versus Manchester City? But I'm going to give you my predicted lineup, how I think Arsenal should line up versus Manchester City to have the best possible chance to even scrape a draw versus the Blues. So in terms of how I'm going to line up Arsenal, I'm first of all going to change the formation. The first reason being that we need a back three. First of all, we know how free-flowing Manchester City are. They scored 5 goals past Norwich, I think. And they're going to annihilate Arsenal when they get the opportunity. And they're going to be very attacking. And I know that Arsenal's not going to have most of the ball. So we definitely need to go with the back three formation. And that back three formation is a formation which Mikel Arteta could utilize very well. And it's a 3-4-2-1 formation. And this is a formation that clubs such as Chelsea have utilized. Clubs such as other teams have utilized. We sometimes try to do it with we tried to play this formation under Unai Emery at certain moments, but this is a good formation which Mikel Arteta could go with, unless if he doesn't think the players are able to adapt to it, then I'll go with a 3-4-3 formation. But one thing for certain is I need a back three. Back three is something that I definitely need, and there's a huge reason as to why. So in terms of the goalkeeper, first of all, I'm going to change this up and put in Aaron Ramsdale, because Bernd Leno for me is an average goalkeeper. I think Ramsdale is better than Bernd Leno from the first game I've seen him play. There's a lot more positives. Everyone's got a good shot stopper. We all know Leno's a good shot stopper, but if you're in goal, like David Stevens says, you have to save goals, and that's not something we look at. It's about how you command yourself in the box, how you play out from the back, and how you really make yourself a goalkeeper, how you make yourself a presence, and that's something which I see Ramsdale do much better than Bernd Leno. So I'm going to go with Aaron Ramsdale in that goalkeeper position. So in terms of the right centre-back position, this is a position where I got some options to choose from. I got the likes of Rob Holding, but it will be a great opportunity for Ben White to play in that right centre-back position, something he thrived in under Graham Potter at Brighton. But due to his COVID restrictions, if he can recover, I don't know. But in that right centre-back position, I think we should go with Callum Chambers, given the fact that Callum Chambers is a player that I do think suits that right centre-back role, given the fact he can play as a centre-back and he can play as a right-back. So if you mix those two together, you get a right centre-back, and Callum Chambers suits that role very well for me. So in that middle of the pot, who's going to be playing in that centre-back role? That's a good question. Well, I think we should go with Pablo Mari in that centre-back position, given the fact he's a calm and composed centre-back, and even though he's been in a bad form, he can really dictate the play. He can show the players how to play, and he can really show the other centre-backs on what to do, and I think he can really suit in that back three formation. So playing in that left centre-back role, who are we going to go with? And I think the player that we're going to go with is Kieran Tierney, given the fact that Kieran Tierney has played in this role before, and I think he will suit this role very well. He's played in the left centre-back role previously, and this can give Mikel Arteta some options where he can go with players such as Kieran Tierney and really bring them onto the left-hand side, where he can have the attack down the left-hand side, give Kieran Tierney the opportunity to bomb forward, and then make Pablo Mari cut inside and become the left centre-back, Callum Chambers to be that right centre-back, and then the right wing-back to become a right-back. So I think that will be a great opportunity for Mikel Arteta to use, and I think this will be a master plan. If Mikel Arteta can use the formation I'm using right now, it will be a master plan, and I think we could actually get a result versus Manchester City. It could be a draw or it could be a victory, but I'm certain for a fact that we won't lose the game. So if Mikel Arteta goes with the back three formation in the players that I've chosen, Aaron Ramsdale in goal, Callum Chambers in the right centre-back position, Pablo Mari in that main centre-back position, and Kieran Tierney in that left centre-back position, it will work very well. Now moving into that right wing-back role, who is Mikel Arteta going to go with? I talked about someone that can make a difference, someone that could be brought in as a suitable right-back, someone that could be a wild-card option, and his name is Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles is a player that has been playing in that right back position, and he wants to play in that midfield position. So what a better position rather than right wing back, where we've seen him cut inside and become a midfielder at certain moments when the attack goes down the left hand side when we won the FA Cup, and that's something that he can obviously repeat in the game versus Manchester City, and this will be a great move by Mikel Arteta to play a player such as Maitland-Niles, or even a player such as Hector Bellerin or Cedric Soares. But I think Maitland-Niles suits this right wing back role very well, and his defensive side of the game can prevent the likes of Jack Grealish getting opportunity. With Callum Chambers and Maitland-Niles working well together, it will prevent Callum Chambers, it will prevent any attack from the left-hand side from Manchester City, like from Jack Grealish. If Phil Foden's fit, Phil Foden. Players such as those that cut down that left-hand side that can really cause problems, Mikel Arteta can really capitalise, because after Benjamin Mendy's problem and their left-back being a problem area, they could really attack this right-hand side. And in terms of the midfield, who are we going to go with? And I think I'm going to go with the same two midfielders Mikel Arteta go with Albert Sambi Lokonga, the first midfielder, and the other midfielder, Granit Xhaka. And I think these two midfielders have to play in this position. They're both working well together, they're learning their trade with each other, and I think Lokonga for me is a definite right centre mid midfielder, and I'd love to see him in that right centre mid position. And when it comes to Xhaka, even though I do think he's an average right centre midfielder, he could make an outstanding performance here and there, and that's something that he could offer versus Manchester City. So in that left wing back position, who are we going to go with? And I think Mikel Arteta has great opportunities in that left wing back role, but for me, I would love to see players such as Martinelli, who could be given opportunity in that left wing back role, Bukayo Saka, who's played in that role before, and players that can really perform such as Nuno Tavares in that left wing back role as well. But moving back into that midfield, who I do want to see in that midfield position is a player called Martin Odegaard. And when it comes to Martin Odegaard, you know how I mentioned the fact that Granit Xhaka is a player that I don't really rate. I don't really think he suits well in this Arsenal setup. The game is too quick for him. And even though he's trying to adapt and he's trying to make some good performances here and there, I would love to see Martin Odegaard given the freedom to play as a number 8. I think there's a strong reason to why he's wearing the number 8 shirt. It could indicate that he's going to be playing in the midfield for the Gunners. And in that number 8 role, I think he can make a huge impact, and I think he could really partner well with the midfielders such as Albert Sambi Lokonga. And even though the midfield will be weak with that back three, we have some players that are experienced, and with the midfield in front, we have players such as Maitland-Niles who can come into that midfield, players such as Callum Chambers who have played in midfield before, players such as Kieran Tierney who can go forward and allow Bukayo Saka, who I'm going to choose as the left wing back, to cut inside. So there are a variety of options for Mikel Arteta to play with, and this is the reason why I think he should go with the back three formation, not for this Manchester City game, but from now on onwards, because I think this is a very good formation. We've seen Tuchel use it. He sticks to the 3-4-3 formation. We've seen other managers such as Antonio Conte we've been begging to bring to this football club, even though I don't think he has a desire to come to this football club, who can also play this back three formation. This back three formation is the formation to play at this moment in time. We got Ramsdale, who's played in this back three formation when he was at Bournemouth, when he was at Sheffield United, so he knows his passing lanes, he knows how to play the ball, and he knows how to make himself much more of a presence, and I think he will be a good opportunity. So moving into the attack, in that two inside forward sorts of role, we're first going to go with Emil Smith-Rowe in the left winger role, because I think he definitely has to be in the team sheet no matter where. And I think that left wing inside role where he can cut inside, get the ball and go deep, or he can get the ball and come inside, is something that suits his ability, because he's a number 10 and he's also a winger as well. And that inside forward, if he merges the two together, is something that he can really work well under. And I think that would be a great move by Mikel Arteta. And in terms of that right winger role in that inside forward, it could be in the form of Nicolas Pepe. And I think Nicolas Pepe could thrive in this role. I think he will be a great addition, and I think this will be a perfect lineup versus Manchester City. If you're looking for our strongest lineup of all time, this is our strongest lineup. And if Mikel Arteta can do something similar to this, I think we will have a chance, because we got everyone, our best players in the best possible positions. We got Ramsdale in the goal. I think he's better than Leno. He deserves his opportunity in goal. Callum Chambers, he's a squad player, but he can play in that right centre back role. He can play in that right big back role. He can play in that midfield. Some areas he's played at for Fulham at certain moments. He's played as a CDM. So Callum Chambers has that freedom where he can bring in a Ben White, and he's played in the right centre back role before. He has the freedom to go forward. He has the freedom to come back and really dictate the game. You got Pablo Mari, is calm and composed, and if you like the back three, he doesn't have too much pressure where his pace will be used as a disadvantage against him. But we have players such as David Luiz, who's played in the centre back role, and he's had the freedom to make those passes, to make himself more experienced, and I think that suits his role. Kieran Tierney has played in this left centre back role before. Saka has the freedom to defend, and he has the freedom to attack as well in that left wing back role. Maitland-Niles has a great opportunity to showcase his ability as a right wing back and be the right back we desperately needed, and he could play very well in that right wing back role. Lokonga in the midfield, Martin Odegaard in the midfield. I think that would be a real good midfield. Martin Odegaard's played in the midfield before, and Sambi Lokonga's presence as someone that can be that number 6. He is played as a number 6 before, and he can give Martin Odegaard the freedom to have that attacking sort of style, dribble with the ball and make some difference. And Smith-Rowe and Nicolas Pepe up front, that'll be a great addition. We can even go with Martinelli on the left winger role, but right now I think Smith-Rowe and Nicolas Pepe are the two ones that can play in that inside forward role. And feeding Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I think this will be the perfect lineup versus Manchester City. Make sure you guys comment below whose lineup do you agree with, how Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal versus Manchester City, or how I will line up Arsenal versus Manchester City. And I think this is the best possible lineup. Make sure you guys leave it in the comments below. But make sure you guys stay tuned for the next video. Make sure you guys remain blessed and click one of the videos on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.